What's up, world, and welcome to the 15th edition to the Take One podcast. I am your host, Chris, and it has been a crazy weekend. Friday, Suicide Squad ended up dropping. More than likely, a lot of you probably got a chance to see it. If not by Friday, you probably got to see it either Saturday or Sunday. And yeah, it's been a lot of stuff revolving around that. And so this episode, I'm going to be talking a lot on Suicide Squad. Now, I've already put out my non-spoiler review, and it's up on my channel now. The link is in the description below, so go ahead and check that out. It's a little lengthy, it's like 11 minutes, but I had a crap ton of stuff to say about it. I just want to put it like that. But if you want to know my feelings, go ahead and check that out. But I will be talking a lot on it. It will be non-spoilers, of course, but it's just been a lot of stuff revolving around that. As well as I will be shortly putting out a spoiler review, but in a podcast form. And I'm going to be doing that from now on. It's not going to be just straight, movie, like, the traditional movie reviews where I'm talking to the camera and stuff like that. Whenever I do a spoiler review on a movie, it's going to be in a podcast form. So this is going to be the first one I'm doing that way. That way I can get my thoughts out without having to sit here and edit a whole bunch of crazy stuff together. But yeah, but like I said, this is going to be, I'm going to talk a lot about it. It's a lot of stuff to get down packed with the Suicide Squad and just everything that involves it. And I'm going to be getting into a couple other things. This may be a shorter show than what I've been doing recently, but I mean, we'll see when it happens. But I'm not trying to go for too long. But to get all that out the way, let me start off with the first thing. And what the first thing is today on our agenda is Suicide Squad. Now, like I said, it was released Friday, and even before then, and now it has a lot of controversy around it. Basically, just being like whether it's a good movie or bad movie, and like it's all in your opinion of what you think about the movie. And a lot of critics did not like the movie. A lot of critics was just saying that it was just a bad movie. Or, just coming out saying that it had like a lot of problems. It was good, but it wasn't great. It wasn't that good, And a lot of people just bashing them. Like, people, I don't know. It's just a thing with fanboys now. Like, DC fanboys are coming out the woodwork and saying that, like, oh, the critics just have something against DC movies and blah, 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 and all that stuff. And that's not really the case. It really isn't. It's a lot of people that like the DC movies. Now, I mean, everyone has their opinion. No person's thoughts on a movie is fact. Somebody could love the Fantastic Four movie that came out last year. That movie was horrible. But you can find that one person out of 100 people that hate that movie would say that they love that movie. And it probably might not be in the fact of, that movie was like so bad that it's good. It could be like they genuinely love the movie. That they thought it was like a good movie. And everyone's opinion is just that, an opinion. It's not facts. You're not wrong for thinking that a movie is good. You're not wrong for thinking that a movie is bad. Everyone has their opinions, and that's just what it is. It's DC hasn't been on the roll lately, and I can attest to that. I mean, I love Man of Steel. I will fight that to the death. I will defend it to the death that Man of Steel, though it wasn't a great movie, I can put it out there, it wasn't a great movie. That movie was really good. I love the portrayal of Superman in it. And I'm not going to get too much into it, but just put simply, I love that movie. And Batman v Superman, it kind of fell off for me from there. I thought Batman v Superman, I thought it was going to be great. I thought it was going to be such a good movie. And then I ended up getting disappointed by it. It was just... It had a lot of problems. I mean, even though I did liked it, I saw it twice in the theater, but overall, the movie itself was just kind of it was just disappointing. It was very disappointing. It had a lot of good potential and a lot of good aspects about it, but it was just, yeah. And so this being the third movie in the DCEU franchise, well, not franchise, but in the DCEU universe or whatever, Suicide Squad needed that win. DC needed Suicide Squad to be great. They needed that movie to be like so far past Batman v Superman that when you look at Suicide Squad, it's like Batman BVS what? Batman v Superman. Like, when did that movie come out? It's like you forget all about that. And that's what DC needs. And so when Suicide Squad came out, it got met with a lot of mixed reactions. I mean, the score, it may have changed. It may have changed, but it's sitting below Batman v Superman's Rotten Tomatoes score on there. And it's sitting at a 26%. Now, that's pretty low when you factor in a lot of stuff from fan reviews to critics reviews of how a movie, is. And it's just, that's kind of sad. But at the same time, it's making a crap ton of money. It's making a crap ton of money. Like, it's doing bad critically, but as a movie, the money that it's generating is so much. Like, right now, domestically, it's the highest grossing movie of August ever. Any movie in August is the highest grossing movie ever, and it came in at like $135.1 million. Now that's a lot. When you look at the overall picture, like, that is a crazy amount. That's basically close to what maybe I would say DC or Warner Brothers wanted. They wanted to be in those numbers. Though it is sitting at 26% or probably lower or a little bit higher from the time that this airs or whatever, or I put this out. It's making its money. It's making the money back. I don't have like the budget in front of me, but guaranteed it made its budget. It's made its budget back, and the marketing budget is gonna do good. It's gonna track well. Now, whether it has legs going into next weekend and the following weekend is yet to be seen. But as far as right now, just for this weekend, it's doing pretty damn good. I mean, it's not saying that it's bad or good or whatever. I mean, of course it's good for the company and for the movie that is doing this good, but I mean, it's doing what it's supposed to do. And worldwide, it's basically at like 267. That's actually way more. $267 million or $0.1 million worldwide. Now, that's nothing to smirk at. Now, next weekend is probably going to hit close to another 100 million. I mean, this movie, a lot of people do like. You already got my stance on it if you see my, review or whatever on the movie. And I just thought it wasn't a good movie. I mean, I'm not alone in this, obviously. But I really thought that it would have been great. I really thought that it would have been better. And just like Batman v Superman, it kind of suffers from the same thing that Batman v Superman suffered from for me. And it literally has the same qualities. Batman v Superman, with being a bigger movie, it had a lot more problems with it, but it kind of follows in the same path. And so to me, I don't know, like, I would say out of any movie, because if you look at my review, you would think that, like, oh, this and that, like, how I don't think this movie deserves the money it made. I mean, a lot of people like it. My brother, he loves it, or not. I wouldn't even say love it, but he thought it was good. And so though I didn't like it, I'm glad it's making the money that it's making, because DC needs that. DC needs that money. DC needs to be put on to DC needs to be put in a place to where they can keep making movies. But the thing is like, it kind of like gets me down looking into the future of DC. Because if you ask me, it's kind of like gone down from the first film. From Man of Steel, I love that movie. And I use the word love. I'm not just throwing it out there. I don't just like the movie. I love Man of Steel. That movie is so good. Not a masterpiece, but it is so good. From beginning to end, it's just so good. And Batman v Superman is a step down from that. Maybe a couple steps down from that. And then this movie is like a step or two down from Batman v Superman. Or I just say like a step down from Batman v Superman. So it's kind of like every movie that has come up to now is like a step down from the first one, from the film prior. And that's just my opinion. Like, you could disagree with me, you could argue with me, whatever. I mean, my opinion is going to be my opinion. It's going to stay that way. But it's just, I'm glad that it's making the money that it's making, because DC needs that. DC really needs it. Now, will that be a testament to Wonder Woman, the next film that's coming out, in Justice League? Are they going to follow into the same kind of, I wouldn't even say curse, but it's starting to look like it, where they're making the money that they're supposed to be making, or, you know, at least a good amount of money to where they could keep going forward, but it's going to get panned critically. And fans are going to constantly continue hating on it, because guarantee if Wonder Woman comes out and it's the same thing where it's critically panned, but yet it makes money, and fans are just like, oh my God, the critics say they hate this movie. And it's like, no, it's just, you know, critics want to, just basically put it like this. Critics are fans too. You know, they want to go to the movie and have a good theater experience. Especially if the ones that you come on across, you know, on YouTube or whatever, you get like John Campio, you know, the Collider Crew, you get Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman, and, you know, J Roar and the Flick Picks, you know, a bunch of other YouTubers that review movies, you know, just a lot of these for a living. They want to go to these movies and have a great theater experience, just like any one of you guys, just like myself. And if we all go to the movies and we don't have a great movie theater experience, then it kind of like, it rains down on us, you know, of disappointment. It's like, all we want is to see a good movie. And it's like, all critics aren't haters. All critics aren't just biased against, you know, DC and what they're doing. It's just, when you look at what Marvel is doing, yeah, it might be cookie cutter, you know, popcorn, action flick, you know, whatever. But when you look at it, they hit all the right notes. When you look at Suicide Squad and what they did, you can't honestly tell me that Civil War wasn't a better film. You can't honestly tell me that. And if you can, I mean, good for you. I'm not saying that you're wrong. But I can't really see how you can see that, you know, these, even though they're vastly different, I can't see how you can see what Suicide Squad hit so many notes right that Marvel's Civil War didn't do. You know, but, I mean, it's all an opinion. Like I've said before, it's all an opinion. But to me, honestly, I think DC just needs to buckle down and work on a good, cohesive story and just make a good movie. Because right now, like I said, Suicide Squad falls into the same traps that Batman v Superman did. It's just less of them because Batman v Superman was a bigger film, and that Suicide Squad, one of the traps that it fell into is that it had a lot of choppiness. It had a lot of cut scenes out. It had a lot of scenes that were cut out of the movie. And that's what Batman v Superman was. It had 30 minutes less of a movie than it was, you know, it was 30 minutes that was cut from Batman v Superman. And it's the same thing with Suicide Squad. It's moments and scenes cut, so many scenes cut from this movie that probably would have made it a so much better movie. And even Jared Leto came out and said that he shot enough scenes, which I you know, maybe it's an over exaggeration. I don't know. I'll choose not to believe it, but I do believe that he did shoot a lot of scenes. But he said that they shot a lot of scenes enough for a Joker movie. And when you look at the trailer and you look at certain scenes that were taken out of the movie for some apparent reason, you know, and you see like the months leading up to, and I'm not even just saying like a few months, but like last year, you know, the set photos that were released, and it showed Harley Quinn and Joker outside of their car, and they were talking in the street, and Harley Quinn holding a gun up to the Joker, and you see all these scenes that they were shooting for this movie. It's like, where did those scenes go? And that just shows you that there was a lot of scenes missing from this. And that's the same thing that happened with Batman v Superman. So it's like DC needs to kind of get everything in order. They need to try and figure out what they're doing wrong, which is apparently like, you know, they need to, if they need to add 20, 30 more minutes to the film, if certain scenes would be better suited in the film and make it seem like, more of a cohesive story within that movie, they need to do it. Because you can't constantly keep putting out a bad film and then putting out an extended version in the Blu-ray that makes the film a whole lot better. Sooner or later, you're going to have to think, man, maybe we need to, instead of making this movie 2 hours, maybe we need to make it 2 hours and 30 minutes longer, or 2 hours and 15 minutes, or how many ever scenes you took out. You need to keep them in there to make it, a better film. I mean, however long you need to make it. I mean, of course, if it's like a 3.5 hour movie, okay, that'd be too long. But you need to either keep certain scenes in, maybe make it a little bit longer, or you may need to figure out what scenes are important before you even start shooting, when you're writing the script or whatever. That way you won't have to sit here and try and decide, will this be better? Will that be better? You need to figure all that out. I mean, I'm not a guy that makes movies. I never made a movie a damn day in my life. So I don't know how all this go, but something needs to change, because DC is just constantly I ain't gonna say failing, because they're making the money. As long as you're making the money, they're gonna keep pumping them out. It don't matter what critics say or what fans say. And then one of the things that like I said, the fans and all that stuff is talking about, with the critics and stuff. But everybody got to realize that you're out here petitioning that Rotten Tomatoes be shut down or this and that. Rotten Tomatoes isn't the one watching these movies giving it these ratings. It's a combination of critics and audiences. So critics will give it a score. Critics are going to say, oh, this movie is bad, it's good, this and that. And it tallies everything up what these critics are saying. That's Rotten Tomatoes are just basically saying like, oh, well, such and such say it this way, so we give it this and that. And it's not them giving it the ratings. It's not the website giving it these ratings. It's these critics. And on top of that, it's the fans. A lot of people want to get down about, Batman v Superman being, a decent movie, or it's not as bad as the critics say, and that the critics are bringing the movie down. But you got to think about it. The fans are offering their opinions to the website as well. The fans are the ones saying that this movie is good, or this movie is bad, this movie is alright. It's like that factors in too, because they have two scores. You have a critic score and you have an audience score. And if, the audience are giving it a low score, that's you guys that are sitting there watching the movie saying that this movie was alright, this movie wasn't great, this movie was this. Because if the critics give it a score and the score is at 26%, and then the audience give it a score and is at like 42 or 52% or 58%, it's like y'all not giving it a good score either. I can see if it was a vast difference. If critics had it in the 20s and you guys had it, or we all, the fans have it all in 90%, then you can say something. But if you have it at a low score too, then, what are you complaining about? You're watching a movie and saying that the movie is bad, that it's not good. You're the ones that's saying it. It's everyone is coming together, is giving these scores. And then you got to think about it that, Marvel, it's not Marvel is paying off, critics to say that they don't like DC movies, because it's been proven with Batman v Superman and Civil War that if one superhero movie do good, because the average moviegoer don't know the difference between Marvel and DC. They don't know. A lot of them, if you ask them what comic book is DC under, they'll probably be like Marvel. Or no, not DC, but like Batman. They'll be like Marvel or something like that, because they don't know it. It don't matter. You can show the logo, the Marvel Studios in front of you. You can show DC Studios or whatever, DC Entertainment in front of it. It don't matter. They don't look for that. They don't look for to see the movie. And even if they do notice it and see it, they won't remember it. They won't care to think to memorize that Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, and all of them is under DC, and the Avengers is all under Marvel, and X-Men, Marvel. They don't care all that. It's just they couldn't tell you which property or which name or character is under which company. They just go see these movies. And so when that's basically the fact, they're basically put together all in one genre. I mean, because that's what they are. They're superhero movies, all in one genre. So if one does bad, they kind of like connect it to the next one that's coming out. They're like, oh, maybe it's not going to do bad. Because guaranteed, if you had people see Batman v Superman, they had second thoughts on maybe seeing Captain America Civil War. So if Marvel is banking on the failure of DC, they're banking on their failure as well. Even though they're making good movies, their movies aren't going to do as good as it should. Because even though I myself and a lot of people would think that Batman v Superman should have done $1 billion, it should have done way more than what it did. I also would say that even though Captain America Civil War did good, I thought that movie should have done better than what it did. Even though it did awesome, it should have done better than what it did. Matter of fact, it should have reached $1 billion faster than what it should have, because that movie was so good. And it's like Marvel and Disney, they don't bank on the failure of DC because it affects their movies as well. When you're put in the same genre, one other movie that's in the same genre as yours can basically take you away from seeing the other movie that's in the same genre, but they're not connected. You know? So for all these people talking about like, oh yeah, the critics and this and that and blah 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 and all this stuff, and Marvel, won in DC failure, it's like, it's all bullshit. Just shut up. Watch these movies. The critics aren't against DC. DC hasn't made that hit yet. I mean, financially, yeah, they've made hits. But as far as making like a great movie, making an awesome movie, critically as well as financially, they haven't done it yet. Now, hopefully next year they can do it with Wonder Woman or Justice League. Hopefully both. But as of right now, it's somewhat looking grim. It kind of is, especially with the marketing that they did recently on basically just the weeks prior to Suicide Squad, because of, as I was just talking about, how bad Batman v Superman was like just bashed, and rightfully so. But they had a lot of momentum going into it. I mean, with Comic-Con, with a lot of people believing that DC took it this year, that Marvel had, some good stuff, but DC ultimately took it this year. So they had that on their side, as well as just even before Comic-Con, it was a lot of news like per week, especially with the set visits and everything leading towards Comic-Con. DC had a lot of momentum. Like, everything that you would hear come out, you'll probably hear bits and pieces about Marvel, but majority of the news that was coming out was DC. And then you had the Killing Joke being released in a limited, having a limited theatrical release, as well as you had the Batman v Superman Ultimate Cut being released on DVD as well. And it just, all that's leading up to Suicide Squad. So the marketing for just not even Suicide Squad, but just DC in the whole leading up to Suicide Squad, it was actually pretty good. Like, it had me excited to see, Suicide Squad. And it's so crazy how everything plans out, because Suicide Squad had the most pre-sale tickets sold in any August film ever as well. And it was outbeating freaking Guardians of the Galaxy. And everybody praised that movie. I didn't like it as much as everyone else did, but it had a lot of praise. That movie had a crap ton of praise. And that movie, it had a well balance of characters. Now, I could see, they had less characters to deal with than Suicide Squad, but just how they got to the backstories, how they, just basically briefly, you got to know all these characters instead of just a few characters, half the characters, or, a couple of the characters out of the whole group, just like Suicide Squad did. But, I mean, it did a lot of things better than Suicide Squad did. But, that's neither here or there. But, it outbeats Guardians of the Galaxy. So, it's like Suicide Squad is getting panned, is getting, just hated on. I guess people can say, but at the same time, it's making this money, so you can't really say anything. You can say, oh, people hating this and that, but it's making what it's supposed to be making. And so I'm about to move on because I've talked a crap ton of stuff about Suicide Squad. And like I said, it was going to be Suicide Squad heavy. I'm going to try and get through these next ones as quickly as I can. I'm not trying to take up too much of your time. And so the next subject is that I'm going to get into is the Avengers Part 3 and Part 4, which was first being titled The Infinity War Part 1 and Part 2. And then it later came out and said that those titles were misleading, that they wasn't going to be connected, that both movies were going to be its own separate movie, that it wasn't going to be like The Matrix Reloaded and Matrix Revolutions where they kind of connect, where one ends off on a cliffhanger and the other one picks right up. It wasn't going to be like that. And so they said that for right now it's untitled, so they're going to come out with one. And so recently it just came out and said that they have a title for the third Avengers film, which is scheduled to come out in 2018, I believe in May. Yeah, in May. It's going to be a May release. I don't know exactly what they are. Usually for the Avengers movies, they have an early, whatever the first Friday of May. So whatever the first Friday of May in 2018, that's what it's going to be. So the title for the third Avengers movie is going to be called Infinity War. And the fourth film, which is scheduled to come out in 2019, around the same time, is untitled. And basically the thing for that is that the Thanos story is supposedly supposed to end on the third film, that it's all going to be contained within the third film, that it's not going to expand to the fourth film. And to me, that's kind of like a good bad thing. It's a good thing because it shows that Marvel is so confident in what they can do, that they can contain it in one movie, that they can have a beginning with Thanos and they can have an end within one movie and make it good. Now, I'm not hating on DC. I want to see DC do a great film. I want to see that. But so far they haven't proven anything about that. But with Marvel has a track record. I mean, I know I'm getting off subject, but DC, it's I don't want people to think that I'm biased or I'm hating on DC or whatever. I was excited to see those. Matter of fact, if you look at my top 10 most anticipated films of this year, the link is in the description below. I'm gonna put it down there. Batman v Superman was my most anticipated film of this year. Civil War was below it. So yeah, there you have it. So I'm not biased or anything, but it's DC is struggling right now. So I don't really have too much faith in their future projects. But with Marvel, they've kind of had an unfair advantage because they're 11, 12 movies in, or about to be 12 movies in or something like that, and none of the movies have bombed. You have had movies that a lot of people didn't like. Me would be the Iron Man 2 and Iron Man 3. I did not like those movies. I really did not. And I wasn't a big fan of the first Iron Man movie. And the Thor movies, they were okay. I mean, they both were kind of at the same level. It was just, I could do it without them. But it's with them, I have more confidence in them because they have confidence in themselves that they can contain this in one movie. Now, more than likely, this movie is gonna probably be a 3-hour movie. You can probably bet that. And that's kind of the good thing about it is that it is going to be contained in one movie, so you're not going to sit here and be like, oh my god, I gotta wait till next year, this and that. It's going to probably be a totally different villain, totally different story. Probably, it's more than likely going to be a whole bunch of different Avengers or whatever within the fourth movie. And, some people are going to die, some people won't probably retire or whatever the hell. But, I mean, it's going to be something totally different. But the bad thing about it is that it's you're building all these movies up for one big event, and you're trying to contain it within one movie. Now, kudos if you can make this a spectacular spectacular movie, if you can do that and make it a fucking phenomenal movie, if you can do that, bravo, Marvel, bravo. But I don't think that it's enough, because you literally, from the first Iron Man movie, you had this connected universe. More than likely, you had a plan to go to, from even just the beginning, whether it be Iron Man or just all the way to Iron Man 2, to be like, oh, whoa, Thanos, this and that. And you thought about it from there, but you just kept it under wraps into the Avengers. Now, however long you had this, even if the thought came a little bit before Avengers, the first Avengers movie, you have all these movies leading up to connect these characters to fight this one big bad guy. And you're telling me that you're only putting it in one movie? Now, I mean, I'm not one to question Marvel. You know, I'm not one to question. I mean, of course, you know, I'm going to have my doubts and stuff. But I'm not one to question, because I said that I'm curious on what they're doing, but more than likely I have faith in Marvel that they're gonna do good with these movies because of their track record. But it's like you're leading all these movies up and you're building up Thanos, the only villain to be in like several different movies besides Loki. You're building up this villain to be this big begin the hall, end the hall type villain, and you're restricting him down to one movie. That, to me, it doesn't, I don't know, like I don't know if it can be done. I really don't. And that's what kind of worries me about it. I mean, even though I know Marvel might end up doing it perfect or close to perfect, I don't know if it was the right place to go, because it's like, that needs to be, if you're building him up for these many years and everybody is waiting to just say like, oh, he's just gonna be in one movie and that's it, it's like I don't know, like I'm kind of worried about that. But at the same time, I'm not worried, because Marvel has proven themselves time and time again that they can be trustworthy, that, you know, whatever they do is basically like they're just touching gold. So I mean, whatever they want to do, they're gonna do, and like we just have to sit back and wait and see, you know, how everything playing out. But I you know, I'm happy, because I know I'm confident in them, that they're confident in themselves to do that. But at the same time, I still am worried, because it's like you've built this villain up and you're gonna have him in one movie and then that's gonna be it. So yeah, and moving on to the next subject, it's Charlie Hunnam is not coming back for Pacific Rim 2. And I'm kind of like disappointed with that, because Charlie Hunnam, he looks like, put it like this, I can picture him being a major movie star. He just hasn't had that role where he can break out in. I mean, I loved him in Sons of Anarchy. We know that he can hit the points of being funny, charismatic. He can hit the the drama points or whatever. He can hit all that. But he hasn't had that movie to where it sets him off to, you know, superstardom, I guess you could say. I mean, he's been in the first Pacific Rim, which in my book, I love that movie. That movie was so good, but I mean, it didn't do good financially, you know, worldwide. I mean, I guess it did decent, but not enough. At first it was being questioned on whether this movie should be made. I mean, Guillermo del Toro kept wanting this movie to be made, kept wanting it to be made, and this movie is now being made, but it's not going to have him attached. And it's going to have a new director, Steven S. the Knight, and it's like, I'm not familiar with his work. Maybe I've seen some of his stuff, but you know, whatever. But I mean, I just hope that it's good. But since we're not gonna have Guillermo del Toro part of it, as far as being the director, and now we're not gonna have Charlie Hunnam, and basically what it was that, you know, I guess like conflicts in like his schedule and what he's doing with his future projects and stuff. So he's not gonna be able to come forward and, you know, be up in the movie, which is kind of like, you know, it's a downer, because I did enjoy him within the first Pacific Rim. given the fact I'm gonna have to rewatch it again, I did like it a lot. I actually do. I actually love the film. I love the premise and everything about it. And I actually do enjoy him, but I am gonna like rewatch it. But yeah, I mean, I'm kind of sad to hear that like he can't come back, because I wanted to see him in this other movie. And let's say that this movie does do well. Let's say this movie blows the first movie out of the water. Then from that, it's like he probably could end up being a major star. And it's just like, I don't know if this King Arthur movie that he's going to be in, like I believe next year, is going to do the job. I don't know. It looks like it's going to be a good, fun movie. It maybe look like it's going to be like Warcraft. Like, it's going to be good, but it's not going to be that movie. That movie. But, yeah, it's just, I'm just sad to see that he's not going to be up in there. That's a movie that I was really looking forward to seeing the sequel and having him attached to it. But I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing the other projects that he's being a part of. But I really kind of wanted him to be in this movie. But I mean, we all can't get what we want, can't we? But yeah, I mean, and that is what it is. But yeah, and moving on to the next subject. So we have Sicario 2 coming out. Now, this is one of my top 10 favorite movies of 2015. I wasn't able to put my list together or whatever, but last year, Sicario, I heard a lot about that. So I ended up seeing it, and yeah, I was like surprised. Like, from the trailers, I got a totally different vibe from what it was, but seeing the movie, it didn't really disappoint. I mean, I did have kind of like other expectations of what the movie might be like, and it wasn't like that. And I guess you could say I was kind of disappointed, but overall, I highly enjoyed the movie. The movie was incredible. Just from the look of it, just the story, the acting, everything that's blended in together. Just even the action was actually pretty good. And so this movie I thought was just going to be a one-off. And that's basically what it feels like. Emily Blunt's character, her story basically had its endpoint. Benicio del Toro's character had its endpoint or whatever. I mean, I guess you can continue stories with these characters if like there's a good enough story to tell, or if you can, creative enough to come up with it. I mean, you ain't gotta be super creative, but if you have a good story to tell, I mean, you more than likely could tell, a continuing story. You probably could push this story on for like 4 or 5 or more movies or whatever. But essentially, when you watch Sicario, if you haven't seen it, check it out. Whether you gotta rent it, buy it on Blu-ray, whatever, stream it, do it. Because the movie is so amazing. You would not be disappointed. But if you end up seeing it, or for the people that have seen it, you would like agree with me that, I mean, this movie was a one-off. You will see like just the way it ended good. That this movie does not need a sequel, does not need to be a franchise. That this movie is just what it is. It's a great movie, and I use that word. It's a great movie. I'm not just throwing it around. And it's like, I guess shortly after the release of the movie last year, that they had plans to make a sequel and a part 3 or whatever, and now it's in the works that they're going to be doing a sequel to Sicario, and that it was stated by the producer that this movie is going to be what the first Sicario was, but on steroids. And I don't know if that's a good thing or bad thing, because Sicario wasn't a huge movie. It's not like a Mission Impossible or James Bond movie. It was a low budget, just kind of like self-contained movie. It didn't have like a crazy amount of different aspects. It had one narrative, and that was just basically it. And that's what they went at or whatever, and that was it. And so this movie didn't need to be big. It didn't need to be a freaking blockbuster. This movie was great for what it was, and it basically was thriving on the characterizations of each person. And how they kind of like, got with each other, or, just connected with each other and all that stuff. And that's basically what you need. You don't need a whole bunch of explosions, gun shooting, race cars, or, whatever you want to throw in it. You don't need all that. And so that's what kind of worries me about this one, is that if you're saying it's on steroids, that's saying that you're gonna pump up the volume, that you're gonna throw more explosions, you're gonna throw this and that, you're gonna do, this, you just try and do, what it seemed like Fast and Furious. I hope it don't end up becoming that, because Fast and Furious is good for what it is. Sicario is more of a realistic take. If you look at it compared to Fast and Furious, the franchises, like Fast and Furious franchise, that's a movie. Sicario could more than likely, if they were to put based on true events, or based on the true story or something like that, it's like, or inspired, you would be like, yo, this and that. Even though it is it's a made up movie or a made up story revolving around something real. And it's like, it's more realism in this movie than a lot of big action movies like that. So that's what kind of worried me, is just, I hope they don't go too big to make it unrealistic the way the first Sicario was. Now, given the fact that I don't think that they need a part 2, but once it's announced and I see the trailer, guaranteed I'm going to be like, I'm going to go see that movie. I'm going to go see it. And I'm just kind of disappointed, because just like Pacific Rim 2, the main character isn't coming back. And the main character being Emily Blunt, she's not coming back for Sicario 2. And it was kind of a downer, because she was one of the, because she was the main character in there. So she was like a person that we was like, liking or whatever. So I don't know, like, maybe the movie can do good without her, which it probably more than likely is. Put a good story behind it, it's going to be good. But at the same time, Benicio del Toro is coming back, as well as Josh Brolin are coming back, and the movie is going to revolve around Benicio del Toro's character. And his character in there, oh my god, he is fucking amazing. Benicio del Toro did excellent in that movie. So even though I'm kind of disappointed about Emily Blunt not returning for it, I'm still looking forward to it, because Benicio del Toro did an excellent job. So I know that I'm still going to be entertained. I'm still going to like the movie if it's done well. But with him being the lead, you can't go wrong with that. And then on top of that, like I said, you got a Sicario 3 coming out as well. So they're working on both projects. More than likely, it ain't going to be like, oh, we're going to shoot both of them at the same time. But it's going to be like, okay, we done with this story. This is what we're going to go after that. So they're working on part 3. So hopefully part 2 is as good as they would hope it to be. Maybe even better than the first one, or at least on the same level to where part 3 is warranted. So, if it's good, to me, I will love it to the death. And so, with that said, I'm moving on to the next subject. Now, this is something that I am like super excited for. Super excited for. It's a countdown that I'm going to do later on this year, probably close to like Halloween. But it's a countdown that I'm going to be doing. Maybe I even do it like sooner than that. But I'm going to start doing this whole thing of top 10 countdowns, top 5 countdowns, and all that stuff. I'm just trying to get everything together, and just trying to do countdowns, and it's whatever. I'm just trying to put it all together. And one of the countdowns is going to be the top 10 favorite films of all time, as well as the top 10 favorite horror films of all time. And anybody that knows me knows, besides action and drama, horror is one of my favorites. If anything, I'll say my favorite. Well, I guess you can say right now I haven't seen too many good horror films, but it's one of my favorite film genres. And I love horror. I love horror. Like, literally, I'm one of them type of people that loves horror so much that I won't be able to sit in a dark room and watch a horror film. Like, it has to be scary. Like, the scarier, the better. I love horror films. And one of my favorite horror films of all time, and I'm not going to say whether it's part of my top 10 or top 20 or whatever, I'm going to say that all for the countdown, but it's this movie called Pumpkinhead. And my mom, when I was younger, put me on it. And ever since I first saw it, because I don't know if I saw the second one first and I saw the first one first or whatever, but I saw Pumpkinhead when I was younger. And I think I was at the point where I was loving horror films. It wasn't at a point where I was scared of them. It was at a point where, of course, younger, I get more scared than I do now. Which I really don't get too. I don't get scared of horror films now, but just basically what I'm trying to say is that I was put on this movie when I was younger, and I loved it ever since then. I mean, I've rewatched Pumpkinhead. I'll say maybe it was sometime last year, and I still love the movie. The movie was so good. It had to be around Halloween because I think they played it on Sci-Fi or AMC or something like that. And the movie is so good. I know a lot of people don't like the second Pumpkinhead movie, but I love it. I love that movie as well. I love the first one. I thought that they did a good. I thought they did a good job with Pumpkinhead. And I mean, I'm gonna get to my point. I'm just going off of how much I love it, but. I mean, I didn't like the third and fourth one because those were just straight to Sci-Fi Channel movies, and you know how they do their original films, and it was just, yeah. But just overall, I love Pumpkinhead. Pumpkinhead is such a great movie, and so it's been announced that Pumpkinhead is getting a reboot, and I couldn't be more excited for it. Everything that I've heard about it thus far. It's so good. Like, it got me so optimistic about this movie. It's, oh my God, like, I cannot wait for them to do it. Now, hopefully they do it right. Hopefully they do it as good as the original or even better. Because one of my favorite horror films, like I said, I'm not going to say whether it's the top 10 or within the top 20, but it's The Thing. And it's the John Carpenter original Thing movie. I love that movie. And I saw the remake years later. I think what was it, in like 2009 or something like that, or 2011. I don't know. It was one of them years the Thing remake came out, and I love that movie. It's not as good as the original, but it's not that far of a step down. It's like maybe one step down. But I love that movie as well. If they can do that within the same tone with Pumpkinhead, where they make it as good, or even at the same level as the original, or if they can even do it, make it even better than the original, that I couldn't wish for anything more. Because Pumpkinhead is one of those creatures that is kind of like underrated. I love the legacy, or not even the legacy, but the mythology of Pumpkinhead and everything that surrounds just this creature, this crazy looking 7-foot creature with this weird shaped head and long fingernails and just stuff like that. It's a crazy looking creature, and I'm just like excited to know that they're doing a reboot. And Saw exec Peter Block told EW this, that it more than likely is going to come out next year. So hopefully they get started on it and put it around Halloween of next year, because with Pumpkinhead, it doesn't need to be $100 million movie. This movie, you can probably do this for like maybe 20 mil or 30 something mil. Not even that much. Not even that much. You can probably do it for like 20 mil and under. Because this movie it's a low budget movie. You can look at it, the originals, and be like, you can go on that. You can basically go with that type of tone. Make it just real low budget. You don't have to do crazy CG. And that's basically what's been said about it, is that they're going to do practical effects, that it's not going to be CG and all this stuff. They're probably going to use CG for some stuff, but not all of it. More than likely, you're going to have the creature look. It's going to be practical effects. It's going to be a costume and the makeup and everything else. I hope that they keep that, because the original one, how they did it, and I believe it was like a person in a suit, and I think sometimes it was like mechanical or something like that. If they can do that for this one, as they did within the old one, and make it look so real and make it still look as scary as the originals did, or even scarier, you got my ticket already. You got like 10 tickets, because that to me just it gets me so excited. And so And so there's no director for it right now. Hopefully they come out and get a good director, somebody that can just make this movie really good. And the script is already being developed, and it's said to be a solid script. So I'm looking forward to this movie. This is one of those movies where right now, I guess you could say it's going to be one of my top most anticipated films of 2017, and that's if it comes out in 2017. It hasn't been set in stone, it hasn't been confirmed, but that's what the release date, or just the release year that they're looking for, is 2017. So hopefully, fingers crossed, pray to the Lord above that this movie comes out next year, because I am highly looking forward to it. And so moving on to the last topic of this podcast, which is I'm gonna end it off with a quick takes. Now, I did this on my last podcast, and it's just something I'm gonna be doing. I don't know if I'm gonna do it every single show. I might do it, every other one. But if I have some stuff that I don't really want to talk too much on, or I don't have too much information or this and that, but blah, I'm going to just give like quick thoughts to it or whatever. And I'm going to have several things under it. It may be like 2 to 3 to 4 or 5 subjects or whatever under quick takes. But that's basically what it is. And right now I only got 2 things to talk about in quick takes. Cause, I only got 2 things to talk about. This is my show and I do what the hell I want. And so the first topic of quick takes is going to be Deadpool 2 to spoof basically superhero sequels. And basically it was just said that Deadpool 2 is going to do a lot of talking about what superhero movies or sequels to superhero movies, what they do wrong, this and that. And to me that sounds fun. I mean, you can't go wrong with Deadpool. The thing is about Deadpool is that there is a lot to do with the character. He breaks the fourth wall. You can make it funny as hell. It's like there's no holds barred with Deadpool. There's no holds barred, And so with that, it sounds so comical. It sounds so hilarious that I can only picture what they're going to say. I can only picture what is going to happen. And it's like but the thing is, it's like this movie has to be good. It has to be good. Because, I mean, more than likely it is going to be good. How people fell out about the first film when Ryan Reynolds is like so heavily involved in this. Just like he was with the first one. It's going to be good. But, I mean, in saying that, I say that it has to be good. Only because if you're talking about superhero sequels, and maybe how they're not as good as the original or this and that or, whatever. It's, you have to make it good. That way you can still talk about it and, it'd be funny. But like, oh yeah, we can praise this for being better than the first one. But at the same time, he's talking about superhero sequels and how they don't pan out or, however they're going to talk about it. So, I don't know. I find it really interesting. I want to see exactly what they mean by that. I wonder if that's going to be like kind of like a ongoing joke throughout the whole movie or, whatever. But also, along with quick takes that I'm going to get on is Resident Evil, the last chapter trailer, the teaser trailer, to be released tomorrow. And what I have to say about that is that just real briefly, I'm sorry, it's going to be days where I can't talk, so you're going to hear me slur words and mispronounce names and all this stuff, but bear with me. Resident Evil, it fell off. There's a lot to say about the franchise. There's a lot to say about it. Anyone who knows me, who knows a lot of my favorite films, is knowing that one of my favorite films is the first Resident Evil because it did everything right. Not every single thing is not a perfect movie, especially today when you watch it. It is kind of dated with the CG and all that stuff. But at the same time, I enjoyed that movie. I love it. From the first time I saw it in theaters, even to now when I watch it. But ever since then, it just kind of went down. And I can say that the last film that they came out with, I think it was Retribution. It was actually a pretty decent movie. I actually enjoyed it, but I had to look at it from a different standpoint. I couldn't look at it as a Resident Evil movie. I looked at it as like a different movie, a superhero type movie, because that's how you gotta look at these movies. You can't look at it as a Resident Evil movie. Whatever the subtitle is, or the secondary title is, that's what you call it. The second Resident Evil isn't called Resident Evil. It's called what is it? Apocalypse. That's what we call it. It's just Apocalypse. And then the third one was what? Extinction, or After Earth, or Aftermath. I don't know, whatever. But I just call it by the original title. So the last one was just Retribution, and that's what it was. I just look at it. It's not a Resident Evil movie. It's just called Retribution. But it was actually pretty decent. So, and this one I'm kind of excited about. I want to see, because what they put out. This is stupid. They put out a teaser trailer to the teaser trailer, and just to announce, or I guess you could say a teaser announcement for the teaser trailer. However you want to look at it, they put it out there, and from one of the things that they show, they know what they are, just like the Fast and Furious franchise. They know what it is, and then they just go for it, and that's what it is. And it's like, this one is like, it's gonna be an all-out action film, and that's, yeah. But I'm excited for this movie to come out. And it's coming out in January 17, 2017. And I'm happy for this movie to come out. I want this movie to come out tomorrow, because what that means is that they're done. It's called the final chapter for a reason. That Resident Evil, this franchise, is done. Finished, kaput, over with. They're not making any more. That means from that point on, they can reboot it and do it well. Because there is no way in hell that Leon should have been introduced within the last movie that just came out. There's no way. He is a big name in the game franchise, and to him to be introduced late, no. But yeah, I'm happy that this movie is coming out next year, because that shows me that from then on, they can reboot it. And hopefully they do it right this time. I'm not a big Resident Evil fan. I haven't really played the games like that. But yeah, no, they need to restart it. But with that said, that concludes this 15th episode of the Take One podcast. I would love for you guys to like this video, to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can get notifications on when the next podcast will pop up, as well as the other movie reviews and everything else I'm going to be doing for this page. Comment what you liked about this podcast. Do you agree with some of the stuff I said? Do you disagree? Whatever you feel, put it in the comments below. As well as share this with like people that you know. If they like movies and such or whatever, share this. I talk about movies, I talk about shows. I'm going to be talking about wrestling a little bit. I may talk about music if I want to or whatever, or if it's significant or whatever. I might do that. It's all forms of entertainment. I'm going to be talking about everything. Everything that I know about, everything I care about, whatever, I'm going to be talking about it. So go ahead and share it with them. If you got friends like that, go ahead and share it with it. It's all exclusively on YouTube as of right now. It's not on iTunes or anything else, but you can find this podcast exclusively on YouTube. So yeah, and also check out my other movie reviews. I just uploaded my Suicide Squad movie review, like I said in the beginning of the podcast. Go check that out. I will be putting up the spoiler podcast of Suicide Squad up. More than likely, I'm reaching for it tomorrow, but it probably might end up. It's going to be sometime extremely soon. It's not going to be at the end of the week. It's going to be extremely soon. As well as I got other movie reviews that I'm going to be putting out and all that stuff. And I'm going to see Sausage Party tomorrow, maybe. I don't know. But I'm going to be seeing Sausage Party this week. And I will be having a movie review for that. I don't know if it requires a podcast spoiler for it. But, I mean, if I feel it does, then I might do it. But there's going to be a movie review of Sausage Party coming out soon. So look out for that. And like I said, I got a lot of other stuff that's going on that I'm going to be doing like within the next couple weeks, next few weeks or whatever. So look out for that. And yeah, just everything in my social media. You can find the link below from Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and all that good stuff. everything is in the link in the description below, as well as my other stuff, from my top 10s to the mini reviews to movie reviews and everything else, to the other podcasts like episodes 1 through 14 and all that good stuff. And episode 16 will be put out later on this week. I know I slacked. I didn't put out a podcast last week, but I'm putting out 2 this week. So yeah, hopefully from then I'm going to be able to do that. But from the weekend of Comic-Con, I put out that whole weekend, days leading up to the weekend, and even like the couple days after, I put out 6 podcasts. So I was kind of like, I needed a break. So that's the only reason I didn't release one last week. But yeah, I think that's about it. So thank you guys for listening, and hope you go ahead and keep listening. I hope you liked it, which I know you did. Yeah, just keep it tuned, and I will catch you guys later. Until next time.